And welcome everybody. We are live to the Botu 52 Drawing and Painting Art Challenge. My name is Will Playton and I am here today with my good friend Kenny Calderone. How are you, Kenny?
I'm willing yourself.
I am great. We are rocking and rolling. So today we are tackling Man-at-Arms and we've done our little pre-drawing last session.
Yep.
And today we're putting on the liquid.
That we are. Welcome everybody tuning in. Happy Friday if you're on the East Coast or stateside, and happy Saturday morning if you're down under.
Indeed. So we are rocking on today. So if you are joining us for the first time, this is Kenny and I's little personal challenge that we put out to other artists and friends, and we are moving through the Master of the Universe realm one character at a time. We've sort of sequentially put it in the order of its toy phases where it came out in the merchandising. So we're up to phase one still because we do take a few weeks in our professional worlds to get these done.
Absolutely.
So and you know what? We put the time in, so we want the quality to be there. So
exactly, which is important above everything, right?
Above everything, that's what you're left with at the end, isn't it? So if you are joining us for the first time, please give us a good day and a hello in the chats. We will interact with you guys throughout the live stream today while we're painting. If you have any questions and queries about what we do, how we do it, and why we do it, please throw it in there. Or even what you're doing. We would love to see what you're up to, as well as joining us to draw along and paint along with us. That's part of the fun.
True. If you guys have images that you'd like to share with us that we can put up on the live stream as we're working through the process, be sure to message your images over to the Artists of the Universe Facebook group.
Perfect. Excellent. So let's look at our list first before we join our Man-at-Arms today, Kenny. So for those of us joining us for the first time and perhaps haven't gone onto the Artists of the Universe site to see this list, we've done our Beastman, we've done our He-Man, we've done our Merman. I feel good that we've cracked a bit of a milestone there. We're up to number 4.
True.
So we're at Man-at-Arms, and then we're hitting Skeletor next, which is, I know you're sort of biting at the teeth to get to.
Yep.
And that's good. And then Stratos is there, one of my favorites. And we've got a good run-up for this first wave of 4 waves.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so very exciting. And of course, today we've got our Man-at-Arms. So
yeah,
going with our traditional colors. Well, I am. What are you changing on yours in terms of coloring, Kenny?
I'm gonna keep it pretty consistent. I mean, I like the black pelt, right?
Yeah.
So the boots, the trunks, the pelt lining around the shoulders. I'm going to keep that consistent with the figure. I do like that blue, that sort of icicle blue coloring for the belt, the helmet, and the gauntlets.
Yep.
And everything else, I'm going to keep it pretty consistent. I mean, it's been pretty consistent in the different iterations of Man-at-Arms, so I'm going to go with that.
Well, a question I have for you is that icicle blue, or would you say it's a steel? Like that was their version of doing steel.
You're right. So
just looking at the helmet.
I guess maybe like a pewter.
Yeah.
Like a bluish kind of pewter gray application.
Because the toy was gray, wasn't it? Just a gray helmet.
Yeah, the toy was gray.
So if I bring up the animation, let's have a look. Excuse me, I've been teaching all week. I'm losing my voice.
Yes, I feel your pain, brethren.
Yeah.
I feel your pain.
It's had a good workout this week. So you can see on the animated version, they've got some of those steel blues in there, but you can tell they're clearly leaning on, a forged sort of warrior helmet and amulet. Yeah, so I'm probably going to go with, I'll probably use those same color tints, but I will definitely try and give it a steel effect. How about you?
Sure.
Very good. All right, so let's rock and roll.
Okay.
Let's get.
I think that with my iteration, I'm going to add a bit of a sheen to
Yeah.
the helmet, right? But keep everything else kind of dull, right? Like
Yep.
battle worn.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. And I think what Yvette's in the room. Hi, Yvette.
Hey,
Did we
Yvette, how
get
you
you?
doing? You're logging in for your therapy sessions. Like I say, God help you if you're relying on us, Yvette. That's all I'm going to say. And we're it to get you through. Jeez. Okay.
Ooh. Ooh.
But God bless you for thinking that.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's shall we get into it? Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's bring our artworks up on the screen and see. I've got to get mine out of the plastic yet, but let's see what we're doing.
I'm gonna pull my camera back just a bit so we can see the whole thing. I haven't touched it since our last stream, so what I'm gonna do today to begin to prep to paint is I'm gonna use a kneaded eraser, right, to pull
Yes.
some of this graphite out before I
Great
start
idea.
laying in my fills.
Yep, lighten it up
Yep,
because it does get a bit muddy otherwise.
that it does.
Yeah, no, I haven't touched mine either. Not that I made a strong stance on that. It's just that I just haven't had a chance to look at it. It's been one of those busy weeks.
No, but I think you with the last session you left off at a good spot.
Yeah, we're just ready to go now, I think. And anything I'll add in, I'll ad lib as I go, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, same spot. I think I'm going to change it up in terms of where I start on this one. Usually, I usually have that rule of starting from the background and moving forward.
Right.
But I'm going to break that today and start with the robot because that's where the light is going to be determined across the front of it.
Yeah.
So by doing that, I can kind of set the scene for that visual reminder to me where all shadows are going to be falling.
True. You make a good point with that. So that it'll allow you to sort of like map your way upward towards the base and keep your lighting consistent. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Correct. And I don't sort of fall into that habit of, oh, the light's coming just from the sunlight. So it's going to be a little different.
Very cool.
So what mediums are you using today, Kenny?
I'm going to start with some watercolor.
Yep.
Just so that I can like lay some base down. And then for the more rich areas, like what I want to do with the armor, I'm gonna go with some gouache, and
Nice.
I may incorporate some colored pencil.
Yes,
just
excellent.
so I can play with some highlights and sort of like push a lot of what's in the background back, right? So it doesn't like compete so much with Man at Arms.
Perfect. That sounds great.
So let me get. During this whole conversation, during this prep, I've been kneading the eraser so it's nice and soft.
Yep.
So that I can get to rolling here.
All right. So how finished do you get your pencil work before you start adding paint in? Do you leave areas where you can fill in later, or do you like everything completely mapped out?
I think it depends on the subject itself, right? Because sometimes I'll leave a lot to be open to interpretation, right? With this one, I think I went as finished as possible before coming to the conclusion where like I can say, okay, I'm ready for the next phase, right? There's no more pencil work I can lay into this,
Right.
but I think I had a different approach with I think with the He-Man. The He-Man was different. Like I left a lot of that open to interpretation so that I can do a lot of the detail work with the color.
Yes. Yep.
So here we are. I think we've got a lot of that graphite out. I did use a soft lead. I think it was like a 4B.
Yep.
so I can get like some real detailed lines. And,
Which can be tricky too, those soft leads, can't they? Because they are a bit crumbly and graphitey.
absolutely, absolutely. Anyone who's known me long enough knows that I don't stray too far from like a 2B.
Yeah.
Unless I'm going for something that's supposed to have that soft graphite sort of texture.
Right.
Let's see here. Let's get some brushes going. Let's refill the water.
All right. Okay, so let's begin. Mix out a bit of a steel color to begin with.
Yeah.
So I might use a bit of Prussian blue. A bit of cerulean, maybe. It's always good.
What are you gonna do for your background?
So I'm going to go very, very distant with my background. So it's going to be very misty, sort of mauvey colored sort of mountains just in the background.
Great idea.
And because I've got these sort of little hover droid things that are running around shooting lasers off, so I don't want to sort of interrupt it too much with too much detail. So it's going to be very much like a almost like a Western sort of theme in the background, sort of Monument Valley kind of look.
Gotcha.
Yes, just to keep it quiet a bit,
Right. Well, true. Man at Arms tends to have he's got a very like bold kind of color palette.
Right. With the like he's got the merman green sort of skin.
Right.
The bodysuit.
Well, it's that armor. It's that bright sort of like pumpkin armor that he's got going on.
Yeah. I thought with the armor I'm going to go back in later and put in some chips and damage off the paint job.
Yeah.
Because life's going to be rough out there for Man at Arms. Not going to be an easy run. Just a dude. Just a dude with a moustache and an outfit.
He's just a dude.
Just a dude.
In a world where you're just a dude.
Yes, exactly. Every Man at Arms needs a trailer. In a world where all you have is a mustache
and a mace
and a chest carpet.
The chest carpet, yes.
He has to.
Get my my sheet here situated. I hate it when it shifts. This isn't like typically I would for people that are watching, I would typically like tape down anything that I'm gonna paint with watercolor just for the sake of preventing it from buckling too much.
Yes.
But in this particular case, because I'm not gonna go super saturated with my water, is to keep it from shifting as I paint.
Yeah, you do get a little bit of a slight bow every now and then.
Yeah,
there's only so much you can handle.
That's totally fine. Yeah, it's not like a deal breaker.
No, it frames up perfect.
Yeah.
More if you get the whole thing cornflaking, that's a real problem.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
So let's center this a bit. Bring it up.
I'm just referencing my hoverbots, so just excuse my non-talking for a second.
No worries. I'm about to start blocking in some fills here.
Yeah.
Now, because of the base of the orange here, I'm gonna start with a yellow.
Cool.
just so that the orange armor feels very vibrant.
Yes.
I'm going to start with a nice lemon yellow.
And it gives the gouache something to bite into when you got the
Absolutely.
next
Absolutely. So that's very nice. And as I block in my yellow, I'm going to pay attention to my values, my shadow values, and how I'm going to use them. Right. So I'm going to leave some negative areas depicting where my highlights are going to be, then I'm going to leave white. And I'm going to follow it up with uh, sort of an ochre into my darker values before I lay in my orange. That I know I said it in the last stream, but Man at Arms has been definitely a fun one to do.
Yeah, I think so too. It's been I think it's just a fun outfit, just a fun mix of different things on the body.
Yeah.
It's not your basic, just uniform sort of bolted to it.
Right. I feel like he's like he leans more into the warrior aspect, right? Because he feels like a knight, like a gladiator kind of vibe.
Yes.
That like He-Man was cool, but like He-Man was kind of like status quo, right?
Right. Yeah.
He was pretty.
Look like a surfer dude. Yeah.
Yeah. Where Man at Arms feels like, all right, now we're leaning into like, the knight, like
Yeah.
The knight character, the blacksmith forgeman.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Or the angry metal shop worker.
Exactly. The former veteran who's missing fingers.
Yes. Disgruntled.
Teaching shop.
Someone's angry dad, All right. I thought the lasers come out of the eyes. I was mistaken. It comes out of the hands on the whole body.
Okay.
So that was nearly a fatal mistake. All right.
That's still doable.
Let's see.
Now, for those of you watching at home, when laying in your fills, you don't need to be super controlled, right? Because these base fills, like Will mentioned, are to help give whatever you layer on top of it bite, right? Something to cling on to, and it also helps you sort of like map out where your values are going to be in your future layers.
Which the rules change, I suppose, if you're a traditional watercolorist. I mean, you're putting things down, and that's kind of it. That's why I've always found watercolor quite hard, because I do tend to like to make changes as I go.
Right.
And that's really like a one and done. It's he's down, it's committed, it's over. Whereas gouache is good like that. Gouache, you can keep layering and kind of building up those values and readjust to an extent. Like you can't, skin isn't that forgiving when you're doing flesh tones in gouache, because it tends to get very overly milky in terms of its consistency.
Right.
So it makes it a little bit difficult, but definitely it's a lot easier for me anyway. I don't know about you, but I find it a lot easier to use than the watercolors as a soul and whole sort of picture builder.
I like them both. I mean, I've done a few pieces completely in gouache. I've done a lot the sketch card work in watercolor.
Right.
And I like the mix of the two. I feel like they bring different things to the table, and
Yeah.
in terms of the finish, right?
Yes. Yep.
But I like using them together because of the fact that they're so similar.
Yeah. No, for sure. They do marry well in terms of their, like, when you're laying in your different things. And the same as, I suppose, with pencil. Pencil works well with, as long as it's not overworked, but it works well with the gouache and watercolors as well. At some
Oh,
extent.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they're both mediums that, you know, sink really, really well into the tooth of the page. So, you know, if you want to go over it with a drier medium, you know, you're able to get some really, really nice effects.
For sure. So tell me, Captain Kenny Calderon, what's happening in the world of art for you this week?
Like you know, like you mentioned, you know, school's back in session.
Yep.
You know, and I started rolling out the little program of little activities that I'll be doing with my kids into the summer. So it's just, you know, things that are thought provoking, right? That don't feel so restricted in terms of, you know, a traditional uh, curriculum when it comes to art.
Yes. Well, there's enough of that traditional curriculum going around. So the art areas are pretty safe to do things like that. You can sort of get away with it.
Well, yeah. I mean, and for the most part, you know, me just kind of having casual conversation with a lot of my kids, you know, and they range, right? Like my youngest is a third grader.
Right.
He's about 9, 10 years old, right? And my oldest is he's in his 20s.
Right.
Right. And you know, the general consensus is, you know, the rigidness of a traditional art curriculum in school, right?
Yeah.
Which is why my approach is very free form, right? I tailor the way I teach to the individual,
right,
so that, you know, they feel more inclined to expressing themselves openly, right? Without feeling like, oh, this is gonna turn out wrong, and then halfway through it they give up, or you know, they give up trying.
Yes. And look, if you're smart about it, and I know you are, and you've got a world of experience, you can still do that traditional curriculum because it's all relevant. You just hide it within the catered project. You know, it's
exactly.
It's very customizable, which is good that way.
Yeah. You know, I think one of the things that I've encountered most is the fear of being wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like they're just if they don't get it, like the out the gate. You know, if it's not a home run in the first try, like they'll just give up.
Yep. Yep. I agree.
So I got to remind them that it's a muscle. You weren't good at tying your shoes when you were initially learning, so you know you got to develop that muscle memory. And you develop the muscle memory through repetition.
Absolutely, yeah. You got to build that creative resilience for sure.
Yep,
for sure.
But yeah, you know, it's a lot of it's looking for creative ways to get around that mental block. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
So I do this little exercise with them. I do it on a monthly basis, and I make it into a contest. Right? So they're not allowed to use any words, labels, numbers. It's just the illustration, right?
Yeah.
And they base the illustration on a single word prompt, simply because you know, it'll mean one thing for one person, but mean something totally different for the next kid.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. And I deliberately choose words that are very, very open to interpretation.
Yes.
Right. So we do about 5 rounds of that, and I time them.
Yeah.
So if I use the word, if I give them the word fuzzy, for example,
Right.
they would have to illustrate what comes to mind when they hear the word fuzzy. For some kids,
Yes.
it could be a fuzzy pillow. For another kid, it could be their pet cat. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
But the intention is to convey a clear message to your audience,
Yeah.
right? Using a wet floor sign as an example. It's a very simple message, right? It's composed very simply, with a very, very clear message. It's
Right.
it's,
Yeah.
it's just a stick man, losing his
Yeah.
balance over a surface.
Yeah.
So it's to eliminate that stigma of having to be so photo accurate in conveying your message.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just
Yeah.
having fun with the art. But but like incorporating enough context to where you convey a clear message to someone who's unfamiliar with your style.
Right. Yeah.
So at the end of the round, I have them pass it to the neighbor to the left, and the neighbor has to guess what they illustrated. If
Nice.
they, you know what I mean. So if they get it accurate, I give them a little raffle ticket.
Nice.
So at the end of the session, right? Objectively, you would have like 5 raffle tickets to
Yeah.
up your chances, and I pull 2 names. So those 2 names that I pull get to request artwork from me for free.
Nice. Excellent.
So it gives them an incentive of like, man, I like Mr. Kenny's work. I want him to draw whatever for me, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it keeps them motivated in between days that I do that with them, since I do it with them monthly.
Yeah.
So I see them like stepping up their work every month in
Yeah.
preparation for prompt day.
Yeah. The raffle day.
Yep. And man,
That's
they
it's kind of like a Pictionary sort of exercise, isn't it?
exactly. It's my interpretation of Pictionary, just applied in a way where like um it's more about your message,
Yeah. Yeah.
like not being so self-absorbed into how good is this turning out, more as how you used context to convey the message,
Right.
context
Yeah.
details and such.
Yeah. 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 Indeed.
And man, they eat it up, man. They eat it up. That like they'll ask me, Mr. Kenny, when's the next prompt day? And I try to schedule it for like the end of the month, so like
Yeah.
anyone who's traveling, doesn't miss it.
Doesn't miss out. Yeah.
Yeah, they get upset if they miss it. They get
Right.
upset.
Well, I can imagine because that would affect their eBay sales when they're flipping your artwork.
Right. I'm telling you. Man,
Hurry
they,
up,
they
Mr. Kenny. Mama's got to pay the bills. We got to go
that's
out.
it.
We got to go shopping.
So
Funny.
now that I'm done with my yellow base here, right? I used a little bit of a yellow ochre for my darker shadow areas here in my armor. So now I'm using this yellow green for the green portion, and I'm paying attention to uh, my light values, right? We want to be nice and free. You notice that it's not super dark, right? Because the dark aspect of it will be coming as soon as all of the fills are in. I'm going to cap that off with a little bit of ink for some true black. And I think I'm going to add some colored pencil to the armor. so I can get some nice like scuff marks in the plating.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Now, in terms of material,
Yes.
right? In terms of material, well, your opinion.
Yes.
I know that when it comes to acrylic paint and gouache,
Yes.
the branding, the brand of the material is all important, right?
Yes.
Because you know, obviously, if you go with a cheaper brand, you know, the paint quality isn't as great.
Right.
But when it comes to pencil,
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to pencil, do you
Yes.
think that the quality of the pencil matters or how you use it?
To an extent, I was having the same conversation with my year seven, which is our like first year of high school in Australia.
Okay.
I was having a similar conversation because we talk about equipment that you need to buy for school,
Right.
and I said like I could sit down and I could do a picture, you know, to a very satisfactory level for me with most brands of pencil.
Right.
But you just got to be wary that the cheaper brands that you go with are the ones that you've never heard of before that are like $1. You know,
Right.
those cheaper brands have got more wax in them than pigment. And
True.
so often you'll find that you'll wear the paper away before you get a satisfactory red coming out of your pencil. But in saying that too, when you go with the more expensive brands, when you start looking at Prisma, as opposed to Pitt or Derwent or you know any of these other brands, you'll find at the other end of the spectrum that you've really got to know how you're using that medium, because a Prisma pencil is not like a traditional pencil where you would just color it in. It's got to be done in circles and blending and layers and techniques like that. That's why when often people are doing tattoo training, they'll be
Right.
taught through using Prisma pencils because they blend in the same way and the same process and technique that you would be blending tattoo ink with the needles. So yeah, like I've used Prisma pencils in the past. They're fun. They're lots of color and they've got a big jump. But in saying that too, I don't often use them on my gouache works because I find them too crumbling and too almost like pastely in terms of how they're put together. I tend to use Derwent pencils.
Mm-hmm.
Do they Derwent pencils in the States? I'm sure they do. But the Derwent brand works well for me because it's got a nice balance of pigment and price, which is good.
Right.
Pitt pencils are good as well. But I mean, I could sit down there with my kids at school and do a very, very pleasing drawing just in Faber-Castell or Staedtler, you know, which is a nice middle range brand of pencil. But my advice would be, just like I say to the kids at school, would be get well at pencils before you start playing with the paints, you know, because you can do it safely without getting yourself too frustrated. There is no hierarchy in terms of, oh, well, now you can use paint, young one. Like, it's nothing like that. But it's more of a case of, you know, going into areas that you already kind of know, you know how to hold a pencil, you know, at a young age, how to do those things, and you know, obviously how to sharpen and prep them and all that kind of stuff. So you've already got a head start with those things. There's a subconscious comfort with them. So really, it's just a case of then understanding color and tone and layers, using the right papers, and then jump. You know, you can jump sideways to gouache or watercolor. But yeah, definitely. When it comes to those ones, I tend to buy. If I'm buying anything, it would be a Derwent pencils. I always have a set of Pitt pencils there because they're great to use, especially in the grey lead range, and blacks. The Pitt pencil blacks are really nice. But for a while, for a long time, that's all I did was color pencils because paint was a magical mystery to me. And before the internet, you had to kind of just do what you were comfortable with until you practiced enough to learn the other way, you know? Yeah, so that's been my experience. And I spent you know, like better half of the 90s doing grey lead pencil and color pencils through a lot of my work and portraits.
Mm.
And then I jumped to paint in the early 2000s. So, yeah. Chris Borman's in the house. How you doing, Chris?
What's up, Chris?
Hope you're doing well. Had a good week. Creating lots of art. How about you? What's your opinion on pencils?
You know what? I think that the manufacturing of the way the pencil itself is manufactured plays a big part, right?
Yes.
Because obviously I think most of us have started with Crayola, right?
Yes. Yep.
And it was okay for what it was, but then as I got older and I would see like really skilled colored pencil artwork,
Right.
where the colors are lush
Yes.
and vibrant, right? And I would always say to myself, that's not colored pencil, right?
Yes.
And
Yep.
it wasn't until I've seen like an artist his process, with the layer after layer after layer
Yes.
of circling and
Yep.
blending is when I got into like more of I like more of a softer pencil,
Right.
right? Not too waxy, so like somewhere in between like a Staedtler and maybe a Prismacolor.
Yes. Yep.
I use Prismacolor more, I guess, for the versatility, right? That you get out of that pencil,
Yes.
and the wood's not so brittle,
Right. That's always a problem.
so you could get a nice sharpened point out of that pencil, and it'll still maintain its integrity while you work it into the artwork.
Right. Yep.
So I think in terms of pencil, colored pencil, brand plays a bit of a factor for me,
Right.
right? Because you could be skilled and still get something like satisfactory out of working with a pencil, right? Like how you mentioned, right? That predating you getting into paint, you were proficient with a pencil, and it shows. It shows in a lot of the work that you've been posting with the graphite and the movie stars.
Oh yeah. Well, that grey lead pencils where I began. And I suppose, and I mentioned this in a previous stream we did. The first time I'd ever seen anyone create art in the way I wanted to aspire to be like was a fellow named Richard Cross, and he was all about just grey lead pencil, and well, he was colorblind, but he really showed me the layers that you can get away with, and the beautiful sort of realism,
right,
that he could achieve with grey lead pencils, and I suppose I had taken it for granted as a young person, or maybe I had just not seen what you could do with it,
right.
But yeah, so I spent a long time trying to get that right, I want to just try and get that magical recipe of what Richard did, not that I was aping him in terms of what he did, but I was trying to achieve that same kind of taste that I'd seen when I saw his artwork. But look, I would advise anyone that's starting out to do this kind of stuff is to get proficient with those things first. Like, it just helps you so much later. Like, if you can conquer those challenges with mediums that are a bit more forgiving in the sense of wait time while things are drying and affordability, then definitely start with grey lead pencil. I mean, and it's the same with painting. Start with your acrylics, because when you're playing with oils, that's a very expensive stuff up if you make a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And same with pencil, like Prisma pencils are not cheap. I don't know what they're like in the States, but out here they're expensive.
No, they are a pricier brand here in
I thought you were going to say beverage. They are a pricey beverage.
No, they're pretty pricey down here too.
Yeah.
But like if you're a working artist or at least making some income off of your artwork, it's totally worth it.
Yeah.
Totally worth it.
And you can always start small. There's
yeah,
small
you can always
sets.
start small.
Yeah.
Then I think with when I had like just started getting into the convention circuit, I would pack a small set of primary colors, Prisma,
Yeah.
right? And then I was using Pantone markers,
Right.
right? And that held me down for a few years actually.
Yeah.
And
Do
then
you actually do any watercolors when you're at the convention table?
now that's been for the past, I think, maybe 2 years now, 2-3 years that I've been doing watercolor at cons. Like I don't bring anything other than my paints.
Yes. Yeah.
I found that like it actually they travel better than markers and pencils.
Yeah.
Right? You can see a palette, your tubes of paint and your brushes, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
With everything else, you got, it's bulkier. If you're traveling on a plane, it's going to add weight to the luggage.
Yes. Yep.
I find that the paint travels better.
Yeah.
So all I need is maybe a bottle of water, a little paint cup, and I'm good to go.
You get those really nice little collapsible paint cups, water cups now too, which is cool. You sort of push them down, and fold straight into the art folder. It's a nice handy thing.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So, yeah, like my recommendation, is like you said, Will. Start off small, and don't cheat yourself out of experimenting, right? Because experimentation is crucial.
Absolutely.
Right? I learned how to blend with Crayola markers, the washable ones.
Yeah.
Because they were like water based, so they were like, they would dry into the paper like really fairly quickly.
Yeah.
And you get a good sense for how cold colors react to warm colors.
Right. Yeah.
When you layer on top of them, creating like some shadow values. I've never felt comfortable with the colored pencils; just too waxy. I jumped into watercolor and then into acrylics. Oh, okay. Oh, there it is. Like
But he tried
my
them. Them.
yeah. Like my stepdaughter, she oil paints. She hates acrylic and has never tried watercolor, but she paints in oil, and the stuff that she comes up with is really, really impressive.
It's a bold jump, isn't it?
I'm telling you. And she'd been doing it since, man, I think she's like 14.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But you've got like famous art families like the Wyeths, where N.C. Wyeth, the older father, if you know him, he's a famous illustrator in the States, and did all of those large Treasure Island covers and paintings in the day, and he was oil based, and they've got a rule in their family that the children don't, or the siblings don't choose the same medium to be an expertise in. Just so they don't get a competitive edge over things. So,
that's great.
So the son, Andrew Wyeth, when he's alive, he did tempera, which if you've ever used tempera, that's a hard medium. And then you have the grandson I think he's either in acrylics or oils. He's doing something else because obviously the grandfather's gone now. But so it's interesting that. They try to find their own way, don't they, in their different stuff, their own pathway. Maybe that's the way it is with your daughter.
That's awesome. Yeah, she's pretty amazing. She's pretty amazing. That I'm, I don't know if they do this in Australia, but here in their senior year high school, if they're in one of the AP classes, they'll have them do 15 to 30 works,
Right.
in like a theme. So they're basically creating like a mini collection
Yes. Yep.
for the art course.
Right.
And I was very, very impressed with what she came up with. Like her theme was based around the I guess like the social views of women, right?
Okay.
And like toxic masculinity,
Yep. Okay.
right? So like I helped her come up with like a few subjects, right? So for like her paintings. Like there was this
Yes.
one painting that she did that was very, very impressive, right? She actually painted a portrait of one of her friends in the center, right? And then around the portrait was a series of hands in different complexions, right?
Okay. Yep.
Like holding the top of her head, one hand covering her mouth. You know what I mean? It was like
Yeah.
it was such a powerful piece when she was done that I was absolutely blown away. There,
That's
there
cool.
was another one that she did where it's a girl in a fetal position inside of a room without any doors or windows, but the walls were covered with eyes,
Oh, that's cool.
right? And like it was different kinds of eyes, like
Yeah.
human, animal.
Oh.
I think one of them was goat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
A
and
goat eye. That's cool.
yeah, it blew me away. Blew me away. All in oil.
Wow. Have you used oil before?
I've never used oil before.
Yeah.
I've never used oil. It's one of the few mediums that intimidates me.
Oh, really? Yeah. It is. It's look. It again. It's like what we were talking about. It depends on what you aspire in terms of your style.
Right.
You know, like, I mean, I've seen. My daughter used oil as well, fairly young,
Mhm.
in her high school stuff, and she would paint on clear perspex.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So when she layered them together when they were vertical, they built layers by having multiple perspex in front of itself. And so one screen she might leave things out, and then the next screen she would build it in. So you kind of sort of had these panes of look like panes of glass with oil paintings on them, but she just
Very
jumped
cool.
straight in. Like I was like, God, I don't know how you do that, because I had this whole anxiety from you
Right.
because I built up in my mind what kind of quality I wanted.
Yep.
I found it difficult to just go, I'm diving in.
Yeah, to just dive right in.
Yeah. But now I feel like I have way more comfort with it now, even though there's times when I go, I really wish I could get that looking like I do with gouache or pencil. But all it is time in the chair. That's all.
Yeah.
To build your strength that way, and your tool belt of things that work and don't work.
Right.
But it's
You make
fun
a
though.
good point.
It's
You make
fun.
a
It's
good
just
point about the quality. It's like you kind of build it up
yeah.
in your brain to where like
Right.
it's on a pedestal, and when you don't meet that standard, you're like deflated.
Right. Which is what turns people off pencil drawing a lot to start with, like grey lead pencil drawing, because we grow up with that medium, right? We all sit at the
Right.
kitchen table when we're kids drawing in pencils, right? So it's something that is a subconscious comfort to it. So
Right.
when people aren't getting what's in their brain down, they go, I just can't do this. And I
Yeah.
think that's what flicks people out of the system a bit. But have heart. There is a light at the tunnel. You just have to keep persisting with it, and you will get there. You will get there.
True.
You may not look like a Kenny Calderon, but you will look like yours. You will look like yours.
You don't want to look like a Kenny Calderon.
You may not have students flipping your artwork on eBay, but on RamitaMan.com, they won't be flipping on that. But you will have artwork that looks like yours.
Yeah, absolutely. You just you want to dive right in. One of these
Yeah.
days. One of these days, I'm gonna do it. One of these days, I'm gonna do it.
Well,
Because
one of our upcoming back to the drawing board sessions we do that we're sort of
yeah,
planning, we'll tackle oils. We'll do a bit of oil in there.
yeah.
We might
Because
look at
painting was, I got inspired to paint like my fan art and pop culture stuff by watching you.
oh, there you go. Now I'm
You
under
know,
pressure. I got to make it
I
good,
got
everyone. It's got to be good
yeah.
today.
That's legitimately, like, it was you, and there's I'm forgetting the name of this artist. I think he is Filipino. He
Okay.
recently as a matter of fact, you know who I'm talking about. He did a variant cover for Rob Powers on
Ooh.
on Cataclysm.
Yes, I know the word. Yeah.
So watching, and I followed this guy's work for years, for years.
Yeah.
So, like, seeing him, seeing you, I'm like, you know what, I gotta try this, and I just kind of dove right in, and it worked out.
Tell you what, Rob Powers, his colors just get me. There's just something about his real. They look like like action figure toy covers. They're
Yeah,
so bright and colorful. It's just refreshing.
it
Like
is.
he just unleashes like these bold purples and yellows and it reminds me sometimes to play with these things. I mean,
True.
too serious about it because there's a real playful nature about his art. I find, don't you? Like I look at his art and I think, oh, I just love how childlike it makes me feel.
Right,
It's like
because
yeah,
his color palettes are always very, very bold.
yeah, yeah.
Very, very bold. His shape language is very playful.
Remember when he's
You
doing
know,
those mashups? He's doing the mashups with Spawn and like he'll do a Spawn and Venom or something, or he'll do
I
something like
saw
that.
that. I saw that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he used to do those all the time, and they were always crazy colors. And I was like, wow, this is almost like a psychedelic dream, almost.
Yeah. Yeah. He's very, very comfortable doing that stuff.
Yeah,
And I, for anyone watching, if you guys are curious, you should check him out. Def Shogun on
yeah.
Instagram. DEF
He's on everything.
SHOGUN. Say again.
He's on just about everything, isn't he? Like
He's on
whatnot,
everything. It's
Instagram.
Def Shogun everywhere, like on Twitch,
Yeah,
YouTube, Instagram, and on Facebook.
I have noticed he's doing live Instagrams lately too.
Yeah,
So I jumped on
he
with him
should.
the other
He
day.
should.
Yeah,
His stuff is fantastic. I've tuned into a couple of his Twitch streams.
yeah, right. Yeah. And him
And
and Maura, just good people, just really good people too.
yeah,
She's very talented with the graphic design stuff. Like she did all those
yeah,
covers for Filbo and
yeah.
does all the stuff there for the the Pinguino and the stuff that they do. Like just super talented. The Powers family.
They make a good team.
Yeah. Powers family. He's got the name I'd want as a teacher. As a school teacher, he would be the name.
Yeah,
Mr. Powers. How cool would that be?
that would be amazing.
The closest I get is getting called Play-Doh. That's about as close as I get. I get a malleable clay, and he gets Mr. Powers.
There it is.
There it is, indeed. Indeed.
Yeah. Calderon in Spanish just means really big pot.
Does it?
It does. Right? Because in Spanish, right? Like a pot where you would make rice or a boiler, it's called caldero, right? So calderon, or when you add the N, it just makes it bigger.
That's the best. A big cauldron. Yeah.
Really? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's so funny.
Really big pot.
It means different in Amsterdam. When you go to Amsterdam, it's a different definition altogether.
There you go. Red light. Stay away.
That's awesome. Big point. I don't know what Pladen means. I don't know. It's a bit of a mystery. There's not many Pladens on the planet, but
no,
it's a bit of a mystery. But it probably is something like that, like something stupid and simple, like shoehorn, or
it'll most likely be tethered to like a job or an occupation.
Yeah, bubblegum remover or something dumb that like
Yeah.
Talk about the previous past lives. I was probably a street sweeper. Like no one,
Nah.
Everyone's an Egyptian king. Like someone's got to clean the toilets. Somebody's got to do that stuff.
Someone's got to do it.
Somebody's got to do it. Can't be done itself. So I'm just putting a bit of imitation chrome for these little hover droid arms down here.
And what are you using for your chrome effect, Will?
So I'll bring it. Shall I try and bring it down a bit? Maybe we can see it a bit better without blowing up the whole tripod system here. So because I've determined my light source,
right,
that's all ready to go now. And that's obviously going to grow a little bit as I build it and add sparks and things like that. That'll come later. So the sparks will happen once I've got a bit of a background in, because the sparks will lay on top of it. But for the chrome effect, because I've got that light source in now, it obviously has that cause and effect we talked about last week, that no matter what you put down, it's going to have a ripple effect onto other things around you. Just like a moustache, which is a man-at-arms special, or a twist in the waist will have an effect on the abs. So with the chrome, I know the light source is going to have a very strong lighting effect on the top part of that chrome. So I layer in my, like you're doing, I layer in my same yellow that I was using, which is a cool yellow, lemon yellow. And then I would lay in an orange that I mix, because I tend to not like using out of the tube orange, only because I find that it lacks a bit of chroma when you are starting to lighten or darken it. Right. So I tend to use a cadmium red with a either the cool yellow I'm using or a cadmium yellow, and that'll give me a really bold sunburst orange, right?
Right.
So the orange lays nicely over the top of the yellow. Now I only put a little bit in there, and then I leave a band of white right through the middle. Now the reason I do that is that it's similar to when you study how chrome effects work on a bumper bar or a pole or something that has a chrome sheen to it. You'll always have your band of highlight in the middle, generally, unless you're moving your light source around. Then you have a bit of color on the edge. And then on the flip side, we have this dark area that we call the terminator line. Now, that happens a lot in grey lead pencils and portrait painting as well, and portrait drawing, is that you'll have a termination of where the light source becomes light, but it doesn't become the darkness of shadow or reflected light. So I put that terminator line, I bring that in the middle there, and then I put in reflected light underneath it. Now, what that does is it gives the sensation that the object's turning.
Yep.
And also it allows me to do darkness up against that arm, and I don't lose the edge of it. So the reflected light then helps it to sit in existence with a dark background. And that's just a repetition of the blues that I've been using in the steel. I just put a little bit of Prussian blue, mix it with my black, and then add white to it to knock it right into a muted blue. And then I add that into there. And that'll be a repetition I use throughout. So because there's a lot of orange on man-at-arms, blue will be my complementary color. So that cool blue is what I'll use to put in my reflected light, but also to mix it into my shadows, and that will knock it back and cool it off. So the hot areas, the highlight and the hot areas of my armor will jut forward, because they'll feel even hotter next to the complementary cool blue. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
So you're basically alternating between that series of warm and cold colors to convey the shape language.
Exactly.
By breaking it up with a little bit of negative space.
So to look at my palette, that's my palette, right?
Yep.
So you can see I'm jumping between my cool blues and they sort of come in and slide in here and there. But then I've got my siennas and burnt siennas here, and my raw umbers, burnt umbers, and then I've got my cool yellows and my cadmium colors at the top. And so then I just jump around from blacks down to white. I keep black right away.
Nice.
And I just jump between those areas, mixing as I go. And so I might go, right, I'm going in there, then I'll go in there, then I'll go in there. So it just depends on what I need. And of course, using gouache, it dries out pretty quickly in the summer heat. And I don't like using wet towels underneath my gouache. I don't like doing that. So I'm constantly pre-mixing all the time and remixing, which is good for your palette mixing abilities, but does slow you down a little bit.
So Chris has a question. He's asking, what brands of paints are you both using? What brand are you using, Will?
So I use Winsor & Newton gouache. I'm sure there's a million different beautiful gouache products in the States that I don't even know, maybe haven't discovered yet. I use Winsor & Newton because it gives me a beautiful consistency. It's not too syrupy when I take it out of the tube. It does have a tendency to dry out in the tube if you don't use it, so that's a problem. But I've bought cheaper brands before, ones that are obviously produced by our version in Australia, like our version of Walmart and places like that. But I find that they add too much wetting fluid in the gouache. It separates and it becomes very syrupy. So I tend to use Winsor & Newton. I used to prefer Rowney. Rowney was the brand I would go to, and it was an English brand. But we don't often get that in Australia anymore, which is a shame. But that's a great brand to use as well. But Winsor & Newton's my go-to. What about you?
So with watercolor, I'm using Koi. In the old studio space that I would work out of, it was in a tattoo shop, and I would see the tattoo artist sort of like, on his slower days, how the tattoo artists they would just like paint just to kind of keep the muscle sharp. He would use this brand often, Koi, right? So those are my watercolors, right? And my gouache, I use Arteza.
Very good. Yep.
That I found this this brand of gouache to be like it. I don't know. It like fits my painting style, right? Because it's not super syrupy, and or rather, it gives me a nice finish, right?
Right.
Like one that feels almost like acrylic, but then like I can kind of pull some extra values from it. It's almost like the method one would use when they're using graphite.
Right.
Where you pack in the graphite and then just kind of pull to get some values, a nice gradient value from where you packed it in.
Nice.
So those are the brands I use, and I apply everything using very thin detail watercolor brushes.
Do you have a go-to brush, or you just prefer to
round? My go-to brush is this one here. It's a old round brush. It's been with me for years. This right here, this guy right here, I can do tons of stuff with it.
Right.
But like finer areas, I got to go with something that's way thinner.
Yes. Do you burn through your brushes a lot, Kenny? Like how often do you replace your brushes?
Ooh, I haven't replaced brushes. I haven't replaced brushes in years.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Because I got this. I clean my brushes often.
Yeah.
I clean my brushes often. I use this this brush cleaner and preserver. So
that's a great packaging. It looks like I got me some hair pomade.
I'm a this right here. This right here is fantastic. Right? Because it goes deep into the bristle of the brush. Right? All you do is dampen the brush a bit, swish it around in this, and
Yep.
then wipe it along a damp paper towel, so
Right.
it like will train the brush to remain sharp like
Yeah.
this.
Nice. That's very nice.
Right?
Yeah, very cool.
Oof, it's fantastic. So I haven't replaced my brushes in a long time. And
Yeah.
like for example, this set that I'm using right now, this is a 2-year-old set.
Yeah, nice. Well, I can't say the same. I'd like to. I, like,
Well,
I
gouache
wish I
is a
had
lot
that.
drier.
Sorry,
Gouache is a lot drier. You know what I
it
mean?
is.
Like,
But even my oils, I burn through brushes quickly.
uh,
Like that might last me with oil painting. That might last me 6 months to 7 months.
oh wow.
Um, but I bet the bristles tend to bore down in the end for me.
Oh,
It's just the way I paint. I just tend to. I do a lot of scumbling, a lot of building up of layers, and it tends to bear down. But I found that fabric softener is good for your brushes. I leave them in overnight, and it softens up the bristles again.
oh,
Um,
nice.
yeah, I just let it soak, and they smell nice. They smell pretty.
There you go.
Yeah, but it's good for the classroom too because it's a cheap way of keeping your brush. Because kids don't always
Right.
understand
Oh
that. They
no.
go, "Yeah, I'm just going to smash into them," and so
Yeah.
fabric softener is a nice cheap way of doing that without breaking the bank or spending hours of time putting in brush cleaner.
Yeah. Kids will absolutely eat up some brushes.
Yeah, yeah, like literally eat them up.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah,
indeed. Who's been chewing on this brush? Who's been chewing on this brush?
crazy.
So I'm just laying in a little bit of white to kind of cover up some of my ghost pencil lines on the sword before laying down a little bit of this blue on parts of the blade.
Very cool.
But once that's done, I'll be ready to start laying in my orange for the armor and a bit of the forest green for his bodysuit.
Nice.
So we are definitely in motion. I should block in the background also. Yeah, I think I'll block in the background.
Now, have you watched the new series of this show yet?
I have not. I actually forgot that it was out, and it was. When was it? I think it was today. As a matter of fact, that I saw on Instagram that there was an advertisement for the new show.
Yeah,
I'm like, crap! I'm meaning to watch it
yeah,
because with the challenge that we've been doing, a lot of the Masters of the Universe stuff and related material has been popping up on my feed.
isn't that weird?
Yeah,
Someone's
they're
listening.
listening.
Yeah, yeah,
So I've been getting a lot of that stuff popping up on my feed,
yeah.
and like 80s related content. So
Yeah, well, I mean, I think they're certainly in the comic world. They're going back to that stuff now. Like I noticed that I was listening to Rob Liefeld during the week. He's just done a Thundercats cover, I think. He's doing
ooh,
so. Obviously, releasing Thundercats and Battle of the Planets, which is my favorite. But they're all leaning on those properties that we grew up with. I think to sort of rebuild the comic industry a bit,
of course,
revitalize it. Yeah. In terms of the
of course.
mainstream companies, not so much the indie, but the mainstream stuff, for sure.
Well, because a lot of the people that are complaining about comics being too woke,
Yeah,
are the people that grew up on them. You know what
right.
I mean? Like
Yeah, yep.
just bring it back to what it was. Leave the
Yeah,
politics
yeah.
out of it.
I agree. I think if perhaps mainstream Hollywood and studios were less concerned with pushing whatever and
Right.
just tell good stories, I think we'd be in a good spot again. But I'm sure there is a healthy balance between those two things that we can live with.
There is, and I think GI Joe did it best.
Yeah. Yep.
Right, because they GI Joe had its like secret agent esque paramilitary kind of aesthetic,
Yeah.
but it still had some social commentary.
Right. I mean, all medium's going to have that. I mean,
Right,
let's
it
not
didn't
be.
lean into it heavy, but
Yeah.
it still had some of it.
I mean, it's you look at the history of all medium; it all reflects current, their current world consciousness. That's why sometimes we watch older things and we think, "Oh, that feels a bit dated in terms of their opinion on things," but it's you just treat it for its time. But I I just wonder how much of that is a conscious move to right. This I've got a chance to do this property, and I'm just going to make it all about this.
Right.
And I just think it becomes a bit divisive in terms of your audience. Like I think just lean into what the good stuff of that property is. Like you can't go wrong with Masters of the Universe in terms of having such a rich sort of fantasy world to play with.
Right.
You don't need to do the other stuff so much.
True. Very,
So
very
much
true.
there. So much there.
I think that the most social commentary I've seen in Masters of the Universe was that one episode where these two tribes were fighting over a child. You
Right.
remember that? The Star
I think
Child?
yes, I do. Yep.
Where like one faction was like tree people. Like they looked like they were all dressed like Robin Hood.
Right. Yes.
And they lived in trees, and then
Yep.
like the other group, they looked like wizards. You remember that?
Yes, I do. Yeah, it's coming back to me. Yep.
Because like
That's what I'm
it was like
laughing.
two feuding factions fighting over this one kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like the kid was supposed to be like an emissary of peace or
Yeah.
something
But
like
they
that.
weren't, and they were the opposite to that.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that was the most social I've ever seen like Masters of the Universe get.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Chris says, I just finished watching the complete series of Dungeons and Dragons.
Ah,
Nice.
yes. That's a great cartoon.
Where did you see it, Chris?
It's a great cartoon.
Because I haven't seen that in ages.
Probably all on YouTube, is it?
It may. A lot of things have been popping up on YouTube as of late.
Yeah.
To kind of keep up with the streaming services.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been seeing a lot of like old movies from the 80s pop up for free on YouTube.
Oh, really? Yeah. On the tubes. Oh.
He managed to get a DVD set from eBay.
Oh, there we go.
Very nice.
Well, D&D is in its 50th year now. It celebrates its 50th year. The actual role playing game. So there's a lot of revival behavior around that stuff. I love the D&D stuff. It's good fun.
Yeah.
Did you ever play that with your kids? Okay.
No. I mean, I played it as an adult.
Yeah.
In the comic shop.
Yep.
Right, because one of my studio locations was out of a comic shop.
You have the best studio locations. You have the best.
I really did. I really did.
I have the lounge room floor. That's my studio location.
I wholeheartately did, dude. Like it was the best.
I feel like there's a new adventure of a studio location every time I talk to you. Tattoo studios, comic book shops.
Well, the very, very first one was a tattoo studio.
That's amazing.
So the guy that does all of my work, all of my tattoo work, right? when he opened up his own private studio, we collaborated, and I was working out of there as much as he was.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he went on and opened up a bigger shop, and the shop was called Tattoos and Comics. So
Wow.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, so pretty self-explanatory, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we from that location we moved to a third location, which was much bigger, where like the artists, we were able to house three to four different artists in the back
Right.
of the shop. So I had my own private little studio, and I would typically be there working late. So whenever the shop owners on the comic side would shut down, they would organize like private D&D games.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So it's like, the store would shut down about 9, 10 o'clock, and
And
then
then the games
suddenly
begin.
like I would yeah, like I would smell like the pizza deliveries, because
Yes.
they were about to hunker down for the long haul on this campaign.
The D20s
Okay,
come out. Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Look,
And then,
if your
and then,
next announcement is that you had a studio in a theme park, I don't know if we can continue being friends, because I mean I think that's going to be a trifecta of studios that I can't live with it. I can't live with that. Oh yeah,
Hi.
Disney. Worked at Disney.
What?
I'm just going to call you spoiled and just pull the plug. That's what I'm doing.
It's fun stuff. It was fun
Yeah,
stuff.
man.
It was definitely fun stuff. Shout out to all those guys, man. Jose Variz, Juan Navarro, Daniel Delitsky, the great group of guys. Jeff
Yeah.
DeCall,
And they're still doing it.
great group of guys. And I well, individually, because
Yeah.
COVID, like
Knocked the
disrupted a
wind
lot
out
of
of
stuff. So we all kind of gave up the studio space, but they're still doing their thing. Uh, Jeff is he's a cover artist for Marvel and DC.
right.
Juan is doing a lot his own indie stuff. He
Yep.
did a couple covers for Image. He collaborates with me as a writer on The Office Unicorn.
Right. Yep.
Um, Jose Variz, he's making a killing on Kickstarter. Uh,
Can be done. Can
everyone,
be done. Can be done.
yeah, he's making a killing on Kickstarter. And Daniel Delitsky, I'll forward you his stuff. He's a very talented painter.
Yes, I love
His
it.
his stuff, like, even though he uses acrylic as a medium, his stuff looks so good in like that cartoon style.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, he goes by Tomato Frog on Instagram.
What?
He's yeah, Tomato Frog.
Of course. Of course he does. What?
He goes by Tomato Frog on Instagram. He's awesome. Shout out to those guys. I learned from all of them. I
Yeah.
learned something from all of them. That if I could go back to like my studio days, I would do it in a heartbeat, because
Yeah.
just being surrounded by so many different styles and so many different approaches, you're bound to pick up something.
Yeah, for sure. I think your new Marvel superhero name is going to have to be the Watcher, because that's what you do. The ultimate learner.
Indeed.
Indeed.
Yes, imagine if you will.
A what if universe all the time. But yeah, I
Um,
think you're just such a great learner. But that's what you do.
well,
Constantly expanding.
it's important to remain a student.
Yeah.
It's important to remain a student, especially in this business. That's how you keep up. That's how you
Keep,
evolve in your
keep
craft.
getting better. Yeah. For sure.
Actually, I'm going to hit this with a little bit of dark brown. My silhouettes in the background, yeah.
And I saw the news this morning in terms of 80s flashback. We have to give our moment of silence for Apollo Creed.
Yes, Mr. Carl Weathers.
Yes.
Our condolences to his family.
Yeah. 76, I think he was 76 years old.
Yeah. I mean, he's been around a long time.
Yeah.
He's an icon. Apollo Creed.
Dylan from
Predator, right?
Yeah. Grief Carter from Mandalorian.
Yes.
He's done a lot of stuff.
Happy Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore.
He was in Happy Gilmore. You Mumbo, right? All in the hips, right? Shoot, he was in Little Nicky too, reprising his role from Happy Gilmore.
Yes. What a great character actor like this.
Yeah. Action Jackson.
That's right.
Yes. Action Jackson. I think he did that role opposite to Vanity.
Yes. Now listen, I think if we ever do a property, we're gonna have to do an Action Jackson comic book. Yes, a retelling.
Absolutely.
Prequel. Action Jackson.
When he was just Jackson.
When he was just Action.
He was just
no one knew his name. Went through a few different name types.
Settled on Action.
Settled on Jackson.
It felt good. Right.
Action Glenn, no.
Yeah, no.
Action Jason, no.
It wasn't punchy enough.
No, it wasn't not enough alliteration. Too funny. Yes, but what a loss. But 76 years old, like he'd had a lifetime of things.
Yeah. Hopefully, I'm able to live that long. And
different times in the 80s, like there was the level of intake of different things.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of alcohol, narcotics, everything else in life, even steroids, I guess, for those guys. But
sure,
that all has an effect on things, doesn't it?
It does.
Like I'm surprised Arnie's still kicking. Really?
Yeah.
Like
especially him.
Yeah.
Especially him.
And Stallone, I guess too.
Yeah. Oh, I think with the slowdown of the action roles, there wasn't much of a need to, to be so big.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But his head stayed the same size, so his body shrunk. So it's kind of like Arnie's like a bobblehead now. It's weird.
Yeah. The proportions, it's the proportions again. I have no control of the proportions.
God. When he goes to the planet, there's really no one to replace him. Like he was a one of a kind.
No.
Whether you agree with him or
not at
not,
all.
He's a one of a kind. He's an odd duck.
He is. His son looks just like him. Did you see that his son is getting into acting?
No.
He's got I think it's his oldest son. His oldest son looks just like him. Right? Just obviously not as big.
Yeah.
But looks just like him, and he's getting into acting.
Really?
Yeah.
Not getting into bodybuilding to start with. That's interesting.
Nah. He's getting into acting, which I found to be, pretty exciting. I'm interested to see what what Schwarzenegger would have been like had he been able to speak proper English and
I always find it funny when he's fighting. He has that weird sound going all the time.
I think it was prominent. It was really prominent in
It was loud.
Total
Like,
Recall.
really, yes.
In Total Recall, it was really prominent. When he was stuck on
Commando.
Mars and he was running out of air, his eyes started bulging out.
Exactly. Exactly. I was watching Predator with the kids the other day, my boys, and it's such a good movie. I love the movie, but
it's a great movie.
It was almost a drinking game for the amount of times he said "get to the chopper." Like, I mean, how many times get to the chopper? Like, get down. Like, how many times did you say "get to the chopper"? We heard you. We're running through the forest.
We know where we're going.
We know where we're going. It was one instruction.
Consensus, the chopper.
It's not like there's multiple roads out of this. Even the Predator heard you. Now he's going. It's not like there was multiple roads out of the jungle, you know?
Yo, go now. Get to the LSD.
I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah, it's a good film.
It's such a good movie. And Jesse the Body Ventura, you know?
Yeah.
So
I
good.
ain't got time to bleed.
And that other guy
This stuff right here will make you a sexual tyrannosaurus.
I love it. Oh, it's almost like he didn't even act. Like, that's just who he was.
Yeah.
You know? Because he was no different in The Running Man when he was Mr. Futura or whatever his name was. Like,
that's
he's the same.
Right.
Captain,
he was like that Captain America guy. He was like the Captain America, like
with the tin-plated armor bodyguard stuff, you know?
Yes. Yes.
Doing the aerobics. Right. Remember he did the aerobics session on there as well?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yes. Man. Yeah, the Running Man was so good. That was
the Running Man. I think they've just released that on Netflix or something, or Binge, one of those two, but
very nice. That's
Sub-Zero. I still reckon a lot of that was inspired Mortal Kombat. You know, like that and Big Trouble in Little China. You know,
that and a lot of the Japanese game shows. I don't know if you see how wacky those shows can get.
Is it MXC? Is that what it's called? It had some funny name.
I think so.
They'd run the gauntlet and completely deleted.
And there was one that I saw a long time ago. I think this is like early YouTube, right? It was a game show where it was a series of men. I think it was about 12 guys, right?
Yeah.
And they had to hold in their pee as long as possible. Right?
That sounds like my Year 9 class.
Whoever lost control of their bladder lost the game. Right?
Wow.
So they had them up on a mountaintop in their underwear.
In a mountaintop, not like
on a mountaintop in their underwear, right? Sitting on blocks of ice eating cold noodles. Okay? And there was one and like a few feet in front of them, I think it was like 20 feet in front of the guys lined up sitting on blocks of ice, was an outhouse.
Right.
So so like whoever like buckled and ran for the outhouse lost the game.
And they get to look at it. They get to look at the outhouse.
Yeah. So
the one I remember was it was like, I don't know, mid 2000s, early 2005, maybe 4. But I remember it was like they'd be dressed up in ridiculous outfits, trying to go for obstacle courses and just getting deleted by stuff. Like they'd run down a hill, like a massive hill, with giant boulders chasing them and stuff, like like that. Yeah. Or they'd have to run up the hill and the boulders were coming down, or something like that. But it's getting people just getting deleted left, right, and center.
Oh yeah.
And you knew there was going to be stretches, like people were going to go off the place in stretches, and you kept watching, like, you know. And they always had, I don't know whether it was real or not. It kind of felt like it wasn't real, but when they had the introductions of who they were, and it was always like, I'm going to take everything, and I'm the biggest warrior in my village. Like, they just make up stuff. And you're like, are you really the biggest warrior in your village? Do you have a village?
Are you?
Are you really?
You can tell that the hosts were having like just as much fun as the audience.
Oh yeah. He was not laughing his head off. Like,
they were there, definitely trolling the contestants.
Yeah, but wouldn't you do that? You'd put people on that you knew.
I 100% would. Absolutely.
Yeah, you knew they were going to be a bit loose.
Absolutely.
It's too funny.
So, Chris chimed in and said, "I just watched True Lies this week. I think it's Arnold's best work."
Yes,
I would agree with that. I think True Lies is one of the few. Well, I won't say few because he's got some bangers. Arnold has some hits.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think Last Action Hero is one of my favorite Arnold movies.
Really? You told me it was Kindergarten Cop. You told me Kindergarten Cop was your favorite Arnie movie.
I only like one scene out of Kindergarten Cop.
Is it a tumor?
It's not a tumor.
It's not a tumor.
It's not a tumor.
It's not a tumor. Stop it. Is he grabbing the kid eating the lunches? Stop eating.
Shut up! Right? And he gets the vein in his neck. Right?
Yes. We've all worked with teachers like that. I've worked with teachers like that.
But I think Last Action Hero is definitely my favorite like Arnold movie.
Yeah.
Outside of Predator, outside of what was End of Times, End of Days.
No Collateral Damage.
Collateral Damage was good, but I think that's like more 80s cheese.
Yeah. It was kind of the end of that run, wasn't it? It was the end of his action hero run.
Yeah.
I love Bill Paxton in True Lies. I always thought he was funny.
Oh, yeah.
Pretending to be the spy.
Yeah. R.I.P.
Car salesman. But he was right up there with those guys. He was in everything from Aliens to Terminator.
Weird Science.
Everything. Yeah, Weird
He
Science.
was Weird Science. He played the older brother.
Yes. Yeah.
I like watching a lot of those older like 80s movies every so often just to kind of see if there was anything that I missed when I was a kid, like any jokes that flew right over my head.
And there's lots.
There's plenty. There's plenty. Like, what was it that I saw? There was, and I watched it often too. I saw Howard the Duck.
Oh God!
Right.
That's a hard one. That's hard.
Yeah, you put it in perspective. That was like a Lucas production.
It was.
That was like George Lucas.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That was a big flop. Because the comic was not like that, was it? It was the comic was quite racing.
The comic was great. And it was definitely geared to older readers, but the comic itself was great. And then you put it in perspective. That was Tim Robbins, like in the movie.
Yeah, right.
That was like that was a young Tim Robbins.
Yeah. It's the Shawshank. Yeah.
I remember my son who lives in North Carolina. He told me that he like accidentally saw a little bit of Howard the Duck.
Oh yeah.
He saw the duck nips. And he was like, "Dad, I felt weird." He was 10 when he told me this. He was 10.
It felt weird.
Dad, I didn't know how to feel.
I felt weird. I felt naughty. Weird. Oh, that's funny. That's so
That
funny.
I'll admit, I was more or less around his age when I saw Howard the Duck, and I felt weird seeing
Yeah.
the duck nips, like
Yes.
because it was blue, you know, like ice blue, like that's weird.
Yes.
That's weird. Like
How do you get over that being on set? You go, look what we made. Look what I made last night.
yeah,
And people are like,
we
oh, you
we're
you
gonna
went
we're
with
gonna
blue.
have Howard
With blue.
vacuum through a series of walls very comedically, and then
Yes.
there'll be a female duck bathing,
Yes.
and we're gonna show her nips.
And she's gonna be blue gibbles. Like what?
Yes.
What? What? Who wrote this in here? Lucas?
Yeah.
God damn it, Lucas. Go back
Why
to the
blue?
wars. Go
I'm
back to the
telling
wars.
you.
Yeah.
You know?
So Chris Borman wrote Edge of Tomorrow.
Yes. Edge of Tomorrow.
Did you watch that
Great.
recent Arnie one where he was the town sheriff?
Who, Schwarzenegger?
Yeah.
I did see that. It was kind of a Western. It had like a Western aesthetic to it. He's like an old he's like the old township. Yes, I did see that. It was pretty decent. It was decent.
Yeah, it was like his attempt at Unforgiven, but with everything that made Unforgiven great.
Right. Yeah. Right.
He's like his version of Unforgiven but without everything.
Yeah. Stripped down Unforgiven.
Yeah. Off brand.
Yeah. It was Unforgiven, but I forgive you anyway.
It's forgiven. Right? It's just forgiven.
It was decent. It was okay. It wasn't
I saw a good one. I saw a great one with him in it, and it was a zombie movie. And his daughter had contracted it, and he was hiding her from the town. And he was just there for her, and it was really quite touching. I thought, this is Arnie. This is good Arnie acting.
That sounds interesting. You remember the name of the movie?
Oh, I'll look it up. Yeah, I'll look it up. But yeah, I saw it. It came out maybe, I don't know, I want to say maybe 2010 or something.
Yeah.
But it was, good. I loved it. Yeah, I'm going to look it up.
Man, that sounds interesting because, there was a little bit of like zombie fatigue for a while.
Yeah, it's called Maggie.
Yeah,
Maggie.
Okay.
And yeah, it was good. 2015. Here we go.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, there was a bit of zombie fatigue out there for a while, and then there was some really good like zombie movies that started dropping. Like there was one that really surprised me because at first it looked kind of like low budget, but the story was actually pretty good. The Girl with All the Gifts.
Right. Yes, that was good. Yep.
That one was really good.
It kind of reminded me of that that game. What's the game with the plant virus?
Oh, The Last of Us.
Yes. It kind of reminded me of a precursor to that. Yeah.
Absolutely. That one surprised me. Because
how they would flower. They turn into these spores and flower. Yeah, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good show.
Yeah. They're already talking about number 3.
Are they? Yeah.
Yeah. I saw the announcement for it. They're putting out number 3.
My older kids are going on a Walking Dead watch at the moment.
Nice.
It's a bit of a challenge, and they're up to I'm watching it again with my daughter who's just started getting into it, and it's interesting. Like I know all the plays, I know what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Because I watched up to maybe I didn't go all the way through, but I'd watched up to maybe season 10, but yeah, just watching those early ones. Oh no, and I keep saying, listen, it's a zombie movie, it's
right.
It's not going to be a golden book ending, not really.
Yeah.
So you got to prepare yourself that,
no one is safe.
No one's safe, and
yeah.
Dawn of the Dead, it wasn't a good ending for anybody.
For no one. For absolutely no one.
No one.
That's what I told Melissa when we had first started dating.
Yeah.
And
no one's getting out of this alive.
Yeah. FYI, this is what you signed up,
FYI.
right? No, when I was telling her about watching Game of Thrones,
Oh yes.
I was because she for a long time she was just not into like anything that was like medieval or anything
Yeah.
that looked like it was high fantasy.
Right.
Yeah. I'm like, trust me, give it a chance. You're gonna love the drama.
Right.
And sure enough, she jumped right into it, and she was like, "Oh, this is such a good show." And then when people started dying early,
And
she's
hardcore
like,
dying. Yeah.
"Yeah," she was like, "What is this show?" And I'm like, "Trust me, don't get attached to anyone."
No.
All right. And just like you shouldn't get attached to anybody, if they don't show you a body, someone is believed to be dead and they don't show you a body, they're not really dead. Right? Like if you don't see confirmation, they're presumed alive.
Yes.
Man, right up until the red wedding.
Oh, the red wedding. God bless it. Such a beautiful time in my life. Yeah. That was a hard watch. I was like, really?
Yes,
you just lost half your fan base. Like you made a decision, a hard decision.
Yes, indeed. The red wedding.
And I would say, like, I mean, I'm certainly not a Hollywood producer or writer or anything, but I just thought, I kind of feel like that's a hard one to land after you've done that. Like, how do you rebuild again? Like, I'm not sure if they did. Really?
True.
It's, the red wedding.
That was when like I really I heard from her the next morning.
Yeah, that was a water that was a water cooler moment, wasn't it?
Yeah, she texted me the next morning.
Yes.
WTF? I'm like,
yes,
yeah. Welcome to Game of Thrones.
Yes.
Welcome.
Yes.
So since then she's been hooked, and we when they had announced House of the Dragon.
Oh yeah, did you watch that?
Yeah, we watched House of the Dragon.
Did you like it?
I did.
Yeah.
I think that the Doctor Who actor, like I can't unsee him as Doctor Who. You know what I mean? I can't unsee him as Doctor Who. So it's like,
it wasn't just Tom Baker and his staff. You'd be like, what are you doing?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I like it. I mean, it's got, everything that I would expect from a Game of Thrones property.
Right.
The incest, the gratuitous violence.
That's the first thing you say. Great. Not the dragons. Not dragons.
It's the first thing that leaves an impression.
Yeah, it is hardcore. Like, it's like,
because like even with Melissa sits there and she's doing the math. Cause she, you know what I mean? Like, she's sitting there, she's like, wait a minute, if that's the king's brother, boom, boom, boom. You know what I mean? She's going through the lineage, and she's like, oh hell no, that's like,
you got the string chart up on the wall. I mean? Yeah. They're actually related. Yeah.
Yes.
It's funny, isn't it? Like, it's in the show, it may, like, I mean, it's definitely not, there's no normalizing it in our world, but in that show, it's like, oh yeah, well look, they were, that's yuck, but hey, let's move on. What? Hang on a minute. No. What are you doing moving on? No, there's no moving on.
Yeah.
We need to talk about this again, Lannisters. We need to talk about this again.
When you do your deep dive in history, like it was actually very, very common.
Yes.
Right. Back in those days, it just didn't need to have a place in a high fantasy novel series.
Oh, back in the 80s, back in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah. Like it didn't need to be so hardcore.
It doesn't
the way they depicted it. You know what I mean?
Yes, George Martin. I just wonder. I wonder. What are you doing, man?
Yeah, it got real Alabama real quick. You know, real Alabama real quick.
What's the group in Red Dead Redemption? They're like the Murphy Brood. It got real Murphy Brood.
Oh man! Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, you got real Murphy
Dude.
Brood on you. Yeah. The guys that run out of the woods and grab you in the nude, like those guys.
Yes, indeed.
What y'all doing out here in your own? Those guys, the deliverance guys. It made me scream. And Murphy Brood. Too funny. All right, I've just put in that mountain while we've been talking about your Game of Thrones go-tos.
Yes.
We put in our little purple and orange mountain background.
You got that in there pretty quick.
Yeah, there's not much layering to do to it, but I'll probably come through and do one more pass over it just to give it a bit more solidity, but generally that'll do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just working on his sort of glowy arm, his little shiny metal arm.
Yeah.
And you've nearly finished, of course.
No. I'm just.
I feel like this one's going to take you longer.
It may because I still have like a lot of the glare to do on the hoverbots on the bottom here.
Yeah.
Right. And all I'm doing is just kind of layering in some of this green.
Yes.
And paying attention to where my highlights are going to be. I haven't even like laid in the orange yet.
Wow. Okay. Yep.
And I still have some shadows to drop into his face and the helmet and get like a lot of the little etchings in there.
Right.
So this one may
it's
not
going to come along.
Yeah, it'll come along. It's not going to be as quick as like maybe the other ones prior. But besides this one has a little more background.
Right.
Well, I guess it's got I guess a tighter background.
Right. Yeah.
Than the merman.
Yes. Yep.
So there's a little more to do to this.
Yeah, when you're doing layering a skin rather than things on the skin, it's a bit different, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'm just gonna do like a very general sort of lowering in here of my shape language in the muscles, and then add the next layer of it next week.
Right. Yeah. So in saying that, we might call it at 2 hours today. What do you think?
Yeah. I think we pumped out, quite a bit in this time frame. So yeah, that seems fair.
It just gives our paper a chance to settle and recover a bit.
Yeah.
And then we can come back in and hit it up.
So I think I'm about ready to drop in my orange. Use a bit of this orange gouache here. Should be enough. Get a little bit of water.
Got any art styles coming up, Kenny? Got any art styles on the horizon?
What do I have? Oh, this month I have Beyond Comic Con, so I'll be there. I got. I've made the decision. I've come to terms.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to be putting up the masters on the Etsy store.
Are you doing it?
Yes.
You
taking
are
the
doing
time.
it. Yes. Okay.
All right. So I'll be uploading those for sale this weekend.
Yep.
And got a couple of card projects on the horizon. I got the notification that my Marvel cards will be arriving over the next few days for the next round of Marvel Premiere.
Yeah.
which has like turned out to be one of my favorite sets so far.
Right. Yeah.
And I also got confirmation that I'll be doing some cards for Dynamite.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Yes. So first round is going to be.
Is that through Upper Deck as well?
No. That's
Straight through them, is it?
that's themed through Dynamite, like specifically.
Nice one.
That'll be done through
Very cool.
Dynamite. So I think the first set is themed after Puppet Master.
Oh, nice.
From the
Perfect.
80s.
Yep.
Right, it'll be the Puppet Master movies, and I'm told that in the very near future, if all goes well with Puppet Master, it'll be Vampirella, Transformers,
That's your
and
gig.
yes, sir, and Army of Darkness.
Wow, Ash. I love it.
Yes,
Ash versus the Evil Dead. Love
I'm
it.
telling you. So that's fun stuff.
You got to get that Bruce Campbell resemblance happening.
Ooh, and he's pretty easy. He's pretty easy.
Yeah.
He's got a very distinct look about him. I think it's his jawline. He's got a strong jawline.
He's like a cartoon character, which helps.
Yeah.
You know, like the faces he pulls, you know.
Uh-huh.
So he's a good one. Very exciting. Vampirella's going to be. I would imagine. I did Vampirella. I started Vampirella in the new Gods and Monsters series, and I found her quite tricky.
How so?
I just think because I had in my brain Frazetta.
Okay.
And trying to capture that same sort of seductress,
Okay.
kind of look. It's just a different thing. You're dealing with a vampire rather than Jean Grey.
Right.
It's just
Right.
sort of, yeah. Lots of fun though.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think I've done one Vampirella like ever.
Yeah.
And it was a commission on a sketch cover.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to, doing some more, because the female form is just fun to do.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
then, now you apply it to, something that's kind of dark and kind of gothic.
Yes.
It just adds to the fun factor.
Right. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, Dynamite's a cool company. I've always loved their stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, they
And one of the few places that actually still do painted covers on their books, like very classy sort of stuff.
very true. Very true. Yeah, they do a lot of the nostalgic stuff.
Yeah. That's good news, man. Excellent.
Yeah,
Can't wait to see that.
It's shaping up to be a bit of a busy year.
Yeah. 2024.
Which is a blessing.
The year of the big cooking pot.
Indeed. Indeed.
That's good.
So this orange gouache is biting pretty well onto this yellow. So I'm just going to come back behind it with a wet brush.
Nice.
Smooth out some areas. Right? Because I want some areas to break up so that we can see some of that yellow that's underneath it. So we get like that illusion of dents in the armor.
Right. Yes.
All right. So we get some of that wear in the armor. This is where I actually fell in love with the gouache medium over watercolor.
Yes.
Because you can subtract some of the gouache, pull it out,
Yeah.
And create some nice effects.
Yeah, it's got a nice reactivation feel to it. You know, you
Yeah.
can get in and move it around again.
I love that about gouache.
All right, I think that little GoBot's finished. I'm just going to do the ring around his head. He's got the GoBot.
The GoBot.
The GoBots. What if they'll ever do anything with that property?
I don't think it was just popular. I think it was just it was a rip of G1 Transformers.
Yeah. Although they still keep going, you know, Battlestar Galactica, I suppose, and they.
Yeah, yeah. But Battlestar Galactica actually had, you know, like it gained a following. Like it wasn't
that's
just
true. GoBots,
you know,
no one cared.
no. Yeah, because it was like if you think about it, GoBots came out at a time where like Mecha was like at its peak.
Yeah.
So it was like G1 Transformers, it was Gundam, it was Robotech. Shoot, what was this other one? Voltron.
Voltron, yeah. Yep.
Mazinger Z. You know, like Mecha was at its peak.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was just it was like that studio's attempt at trying to cash in.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I just remember seeing it thinking, what is even this? Like, it doesn't seem quite what it should be. Like,
Right.
it's sort of like a budget version. Like, the Transformers movie came out, then they brought theirs out, and I was like, what? I watched it, I was like, I can't watch this. This is just not the same quality, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry if you're a GoBot fan, if that's what you're about. If that's your whole life.
Not sorry.
I'm sorry on many platforms, on many ways. I'm sorry.
Indeed. That outside of like the occasional meme,
Yes.
I haven't seen anything about GoBots.
No, we may have brought it back into the limelight with our conversations about his fake beard, the fake beard of the chopper character.
The 5 o'clock shadow on the motorcycle.
Yes, that bothers you. I feel like I just did the motorcycle guy's arms on his little hoverbot thing.
Yep.
Because that shiny sort of area. Yeah. Well, we're at the 2-hour mark.
There we go.
Captain Kenny, I think it's probably time to call it today.
Yeah. I think
and
we did a decent amount today.
Made a good solid start.
Yeah.
It's going to take, I expect this one will probably take me a little bit of time. Like, I think just the detail on the droids and the and the wiring of the droids, it's more than just doing a bit of water effect. It's going to take me a little bit of time. So I imagine then I'll start on the man-at-arms, and that'll be my run through to the finish of it, you know, once the droids are done.
Right. With me, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
I want to get man-at-arms in, right? At least just some base colors with, you know, an implication of where my my highlights are going to hit, and then I'm going to get into the droids because I want to reflect some of that light, I guess, like that fiery umber kind of light reflecting off the metal.
Nice.
And then I got some embers kind of floating upward. And there's still some shadows I got to drop into a lot of these little nooks and crannies and man-at-arms armor and helmet.
Very cool. I'm just looking at it now. It's coming along really quickly.
Well, the key is just, you know, get all the large fills in first.
Yeah. He really looks like he's in the middle of a battle. Like, it looks like some sort of fiery explosion or ruins behind him, and that's cool.
That's what I'm going for.
Yeah. Like, he just run through, blew the hell out of that building, and just get going. Like,
the results may vary, but that's what I'm going for. That's my target.
He's having his die-hard moment with the burning building behind him as he's walking.
Right.
The Con Air walk-off, you know.
the Joe Ryan.
The jewel
Right?
right? Where is Joe Ryan? Where is he?
Joe's doing his
Joe,
thing, man. You know, every so often I'll see him on my Facebook feed, and
yeah,
he's doing his cartoon thing
yeah.
and doing shows and stuff. He's doing his thing. God bless him.
Gerald and Joe. I haven't seen Gerald's stuff either in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. That's good, man. All right, so let's tell the good folks where to find Kenny Calderone.
So as always, ladies and gentlemen, you can find me at Wild Inks Studios, as you see on your screen, separated by underscore on Instagram. All the at symbols that you see on the bottom left there are my Instagram handles. Once you get to the Instagram, you'll see a link in the bio that'll take you to everything else. So Twitter, or X rather, TikTok, whatnot, Etsy, everything. So by way of Instagram, you have access to everything else. Wild Inks Ken, all separated by underscore. Wild Ink Studios, separated by underscore, and Studios spelled with a Z.
Perfect. And you are regularly updating. I see it all the time. There's always stuff appearing.
Yes, indeed.
Get on there and follow Kenny Calderone. My handles are Art of Will Played, and as you can see on the screen as well, and that's on all platforms. So as we've said many times, please jump on. We'd love to hear your comments. And it's always a massive help when you can like and subscribe and click the notify button. So when we do go live or put updates on or put videos up that are not related to what we're doing on this channel, you always get those notifications popping up that we've got something new to see. And as artists, it's always a huge help to be sharing what we do, get the word out there, because sometimes those algorithms don't always work in our favor, but the word of mouth does. So please help us out in that way. That's always hugely valued. And in saying that, thank you to everyone that joined us today. It's been a lot of fun as we started painting our man-at-arms. Next session, we will continue to build those layers as we move through the realms of Masters of the Universe.
Indeed.
Have a good week, everybody.
Yes, sir.